Tell the children the truth. Tell the children the truth. Come on and tell the children the truth. Cause we've been trying on your wine dress much too long. Prepare. And we've been taken for granted much too long. Rebel. Tried it on a one way. Got to rebel. We've been trying it on one dress much too long. Yeah. From the very day we left the land of the father's land, we've been trampled on. Every time you meet the public, you get scared and you start to panic. Ooh, got a gun, oh, got a bomb, ooh, got a knife, who's gonna lose their life? So-called leaders, hey, with deceitful faces, corruption. In a high place, your hands filled with pride. Mouth pours at lies, yeah. Cause of all oppression, now running for protection. Bodyguard, I wouldn't like it, y'all. Snakes in the grass, since I know not God. All the tricksters drinking human blood. Concrete heart can hold no love. I just can't sorry for the bodyguard. Bulletproof vest strapped to your chest. Under your collar is getting hot. Whoa, got a gun, ooh, got a bomb, ooh, got a knife, who's gonna lose their life? Bodyguard, I wouldn't like your job. Snakes in the grass, I know not God. Politics that's drinking human blood. Concrete heart can hold no love. Bodyguard, I wouldn't like your job. Snakes in the grass, says I know not God. Politics that's drinking human blood.
Beaches, hills and valleys, the rest along of the earth. Wheresoever you may roam, Laguna, our island home.
Good afternoon and welcome, sons and daughters of St. Lucia, to the 2021 launch of the NGP, the National Green Party. Thank you so much for joining us today. On this beautiful Sunday afternoon, we're down at our headquarters in Canaries, and it's going to be an eventful day, very, very informative. So I do ask you to keep it locked on Liberty FM, that is on 92.3, and also, well, you could listen live there, and you could also join us on our live feed on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. We are all over and we're ready. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, St. Lucia. It is, like I said, the 2021 launch of the NGP, the National Green Party. I am Press Relations Officer Ika Fergus, and welcome once again. At this time, I now present to you our executive group. I will be letting you know exactly who is on board. We have our political leader, Mr. Andrew De Caris, Deputy Leader, Mr. Aaron Alexander, our Chairperson, Melanie Fritz, Deputy Chairperson, Mr. Ubedullah Mohammed, Secretary, Corinne Joseph, Treasurer, Mr. Avalon Joseph, PRO, myself, Ika Fergus, Special Advisor, Dr. Gilbertha St. Rose, who was not able to be with us today, but also we have another Special Advisor, Miss Daisiana St. Rose, joining us today. And as far as this list is concerned, where the executive group, it's on the interim as of now. So most definitely when everything is confirmed and you get more information, we will let you know exactly who will be, who will be on board and what's going to be happening with us. So it is with great honor and gratitude we are privileged to be here with you today to inform you, brothers and sisters, of your God-given right and free will your God-given right of free will, options, and choices. Just when you thought you had nowhere to turn and no one understood, the NGP is here, and we are here asking you to look within for the power and strength. Your future is in your hands. A few questions to think of. Isn't it about time for our everyday people to have honest and real representation, real help? Isn't it time for our children to start having more confidence in us? St. Lucia, aren't you tired of worrying about tomorrow? Isn't it time for the country to be led by you and me? Christians, Rastafarians, Muslims, Syrians, teachers, doctors, laborers, entrepreneurs, don't you want to represent yourselves? Don't you want to be represented? The NGP has been around for 10 years approximately. It is now time for a reintroduction, time for a fresh, more collective force with a determined vision. Imagine yourself living in paradise, a place where food, shelter, work, security, and a sense of peace exists. Wouldn't that feel superb? Well, guess what? You don't have to imagine. St. Lucia is a real place, and it does exist right here, home have. And this is why the NGP has green policy as its core. We prioritize environmental responsibility. We embrace the 17 Sustainable Development Goals established by the United Nations, and we support constitutional reform as a means of attaining that goal. We recognize that establishing transparency, honesty, and accountability is absolutely necessary, and we will work towards that end. In 2021, the members of two visionary parties in St. Lucia joined forces with independent candidates. Some of us now form the National Green Party. We are not just another political party, and I repeat, St. Lucia, we are not just another political party. We are an alternative to the status quo of self-serving politicians. The hashtag NGP is dedicated to re-establishing the concept that St. Lucia does not want a ruling party. Rather, we deserve a government dedicated to serving the people of our country. One with a strategy that seeks to empower St. Lucians not foreigners. We want the hashtag change for St. Lucia that you want. And for that reason, we are constantly growing and adapting. Our green policy is geared towards social justice reform and educational reform, where child-centric education is available to empower our youth. Legal system reform and constitutional reform, where a government will serve the people, not rule the people. We ask that you engage yourself in the environment, in health, holistic health, and agriculture by embracing the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Now, these hashtag global goals are as follows: no poverty, no hunger, good health, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, renewable energy, good jobs and economic growth, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, consumption, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace and justice, and partnership for the goals. How encouraging it is. It's so encouraging to see that the top 5 hashtag global goals are aiming to eradicate poverty, hunger, disease, or disease, like we all say, ignorance, and of course, inequality. Now, the National Green Party encourages us all to play our part in this political movement. The only way we succeed is when the change comes from within, and we want to empower you to take an active role. We have confirmed 5 candidates thus far to represent these 5 constituencies. And no names mentioned as yet, but these constituencies are ready. We have Castries South, Castries Central, Ancillary Canaries, Grosley, and Choiseul. We are inviting persons from the length and breadth of the island who are interested in representing, serving, and maintaining the green policy in their community. Now I introduce to you our political leader, Mr. Andre de Caries, with his presentation.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Ika, for that wonderful introduction. Good afternoon, people who are viewing, all our viewers, St. Lucians. Just a little history of the Green Party. Generally, globally, the Green Party started as a protest movement, a student protest movement in the 60s. It became an environmental movement in the 70s. It became a protest movement against nuclear power in the 80s. And today it's a worldwide movement encompassing peace, environmental reverence, social justice, nonviolence, and equity. Locally, the Green Party started in 2010 as a conscious movement seeking change from the 2 major parties that both rejected intelligent suggestions for economic and agricultural diversifications and reverence for biodiversity and the environment, or lack thereof. Many people ask why the cow as we chose as a symbol. The electoral guide provides 16 symbols, and the cow most represents the ideology of the Green Party. It's a peaceful animal, and as a result, it represents the peace movement that started it in the first place. It's a left of center revolutionary movement, and maybe the male cow may represent that a little more. It's also a vegetarian. Being female, we believe in gender equity. It's an agricultural symbol. And therefore, many of the ideals represented by the Green Party are also represented by the cow itself. Remember, the Democrats in the US have a jackass as their symbol, and the Republicans an elephant. So our cow is just as good for us down here. How the Green Party intends to govern. A major pillar of the governance of Green parties is decentralized governance, which includes grassroots democracy. The people themselves, in their communities, in their towns and villages, take the power from the central government, and they themselves manage the affairs of their constituencies. So we need to strengthen the capacity of groups in the constituencies, like mothers and fathers groups, the sports and councils, so that they, as a community, can run the affairs of their constituency and their town and their villages. Too often what happens is that much of the development comes from the central government in castries, and there's trickle-down representation. And as a result, many of the communities get left behind. So we will support local elections for mayors and council leaders to strengthen the capacity of the people themselves managing their constituency. Representatives who win their seat will automatically not get a ministry. They will be able to stay in their communities and represent the people that have voted for them. Also, as opposed to other governments that almost rule us, we as politicians cannot change your lives, but we can give you the education, green education, to incorporate in your daily life. So change is incumbent on all of us. Don't expect us to make your lives better if you don't want to change yourself. Our major policy is food security, and as a result, agriculture first. So what we want to do is actually build up our climate change mitigation infrastructure, meaning that we have proper drainage, we have water storage capacity in all sectors, whether it be the tourism sector, the agricultural sector, the manufacturing sector, the construction sector. We see that through climate change, water is becoming a scarce commodity. So we want to increase the water storage capacity of the island. Excuse me. We want to put at least 100 acres under plastic during our 5 years. We realized that last year, especially during the months of October, November, many of our farmers' crops were destroyed because they were from torrential rainfall. And as a result, we need to create infrastructure that would protect the farmers. So what we are proposing is 100 acres under plastic. These are open sides greenhouses so that there'd be airflow, drainage to reduce on any sort of fungal, mold, and bacteria that could be prolific in a very humid environment. Thus, the open-sided greenhouses. We would like to implement a national irrigation, land preparation, and drainage program so that those costs are minimized by the farmer. The farmer will not have to pay for drains or for land preparation. We want to look at an expanded school feeding program and tie it in with our agricultural diversification. We want to make agricultural education more prominent in the school syllabus to prepare our kids to be able to feed themselves in the future. We want to look at regional export and transportation system. St. Vincent is now out of production, and much of the Caribbean is fed by St. Vincent, and we have an opportunity to actually pick up the slack. The northern Leeward Islands and many of those other islands do not have the necessary capacity to grow food, and we could be the breadbasket of the Caribbean. We want to introduce buy local, educational programs so that we could reduce the food import bill and encourage people to support our local farmers. We want to create an integrated, organic, diversified agricultural system. We want to introduce crop insurance for the farmers. Many times, a failure of a crop, whether it be due to weather conditions or insects, the farmer does not recoup what he has invested, and as a result, the follow-up crop may not have enough capacity, money to be invested because the farmer has lost his money. So we want to make sure that farmers have enough capacity to continue producing. We want to create a central purchasing agency so that no farmer has to be hustling his produce late at night, similar to the marketing board. That, I mean, many people use the word restructuring the marketing board, but we want to create a completely different system and call it a central purchasing agency so that farmers could get all their crops vended. We'd like to see duty-free on all agricultural implements from farmers. We would like to create a local seed bank, and we would like to ensure minimum wage for farm workers. We would like to also deal with constitutional reform, something that the two other parties have not dealt with. And in our constitutional reform, we'd like to, one, see a set date for elections so there's no political gamesmanship. Everybody knows you have your 5-year term and you do what you have to do in those 5 years, and at the end of the term, your success depends on how well you have led for those 5 years. We want to introduce legislation where a leader can only do 2 consecutive terms, 10 years. What this does is that it forces a legacy so that there's a follow-up. After 10 years, the leader moves aside and it leaves room for the upcoming people to represent their following generations, instead of this sort of one-person leader that is totally connected from the youth. We want to make the power of recall legal. So anytime during the term, if that particular representative is not producing, we have the power of recall. We would like to remove the Queen as head of state. Social justice is another pillar of the Green Party. Social justice includes cannabis law reform, gender equity, the rights of the child, the rights of the LGBT community, and the rights of the disabled. Many of people in these various groups are totally discriminated against, and apart from being discriminated, sometimes violence is committed against these groups. In a just society, this must not take place. There are many more programs on our agenda, and we would ask people to go to our website for greater explanations. At this time, we would actually like engagement from the public to ask questions about us, because many people do not know that we exist. And we want to leave enough time to answer the questions. But I'll just go through a few of our ideas in point form so that everybody knows exactly what we intend to do when governing. First of all, we want to commission the St. Jude's Hospital within the next 6 months. We would like to provide a $1 million a year subvention to the National Trust. We would like to see universal daycare. We'd like to see a national subvention for single mothers. We would like to develop a local island ferry along the west coast as an alternative to on-the-road transportation. We would introduce a moratorium on new hotel construction north of Castries. We would like to revive the coconut industry and develop a body care industry for product manufacturing for local consumption and export. We want to introduce a national beautification campaign. We would be able to produce 6,000 jobs in the medical cannabis industry, which would also give the government coffers at least $50 million a year. And with that money, we'd be able to do many of the projects that we intend to roll out during our term. We'd like to see affordable housing for young adults, the creation of safe recreational areas, skateboard parks, downhill BMX tracks, etc. The reintroduction of local and international music festival at some time in the year. We introduce the annual Fine Arts Awards. We would like to see a yacht and marina in the south. Many ideas that the other two parties have are good ideas. So we would like to reintroduce some of the ideas of the SLP government and continue with some of the ideas of the UWP government. Because many times when one government gets out of power, the other government just stops everything that they started, which is completely ridiculous. But we will honor projects and we will keep the ball rolling. We would like to start the construction of micro dams to increase the water storage capacity of the island. Actually now, because water is a scarce commodity, there's talk of it being traded on the stock market. Because of our topography, we would be a wealthy state if we had to sell water, if we start constructing micro dams in all the valleys. The micro dams will also ensure that communities downstream would have 100% supply of water all the time. We would like to look at biodiversity preservation. We have the iguana, the agouti, the boa, the Amazona versicolor. We have many of our wildlife, our birds, our rivers, our crayfish, our tree, our coastal management practices must be impeccable so that we have fish to eat in the future. We would like to create a Pitom National Park. We'd like to have business incentives for local businesses, tax-free incentives on certain equipment. For the animal lovers, we'd like to have free spaying and neutering at least twice a year for your animals. We'd like to have low interest loans for startups so that young entrepreneurs could actually build their businesses, and many, many other programs on the agenda, too numerous to mention. We would ask everybody to start looking at our website. It's still under construction and content is going to be uploaded in the future. We don't want this to be a monologue of me just talking about ideas. We want to hear from the people, the listeners out there. So at this present time, I'd like to thank everybody for listening and tuning in. And we would like to give the floor to our audience. And we would like to answer the questions as best as possible. Thank you very much. I would like to say that dip, that differentiates us from the other parties. Traditionally, parties come in and the electorate expect that politicians are going to do something for them. Buy a gas cylinder, buy drinks in a bar. We are not that party. We have a slogan, think green and live green. And I always like to give this little analogy. You don't have to be part of the Green Party. You could be an SLP supporter, UWP supporter, or not even political. But the concept of this particular idea, fighting plastic, if one commits himself or themselves to not drinking out of plastic bottles, not purchasing drinks out of plastic bottles, and out of the 180,000 people, 10,000 think it's a good idea and then decide not to purchase any drinks in plastic bottles. The very next day, without government intervention or a change of the law, there will be 10,000 less plastic bottles in the environment. So the Green Party is not about just putting your tikwa and sitting back and waiting for things to happen. It's a movement that you need to be part of. So the change doesn't only come with change in the representatives and the political leaders. Change has to come from all of us. All of us have to buy into the green idea. Live simply so that others could simply live. We didn't inherit this planet from our parents. We are borrowing it from our children. It is important to realize that. It is our duty to leave this planet a better place than we met it. Unfortunately, when you look at the news and you see what is happening in the world today, we are doing a horrible job. And I personally apologize to the generations after me, because my generation and the generation just ahead of me was totally about building themselves up and forgetting the youth that are coming along. We intend to change that. We intend to work for the generations to come, to provide clean air, clean water, healthy food for all, a safe environment for the kids, recreational spaces, safe recreational spaces, a living wage so that people can actually live and just not work all their lives and die a life of just work. So it is important for people out there that if you want to join, if you want this party to represent you, be part of the movement and educate yourself about green living and green lifestyles, reducing your meat consumption, being peaceful, accepting the faults of others, non-violence, conflict resolution is extremely important in these violent days. Think peace before war. All these things are green ideological pillars, and we encourage you to embrace these pillars. Thank you.
We know that the previous administration, whether it be SLP or SLP, have basically introduced some of those ideas that you have for your campaign and for your party. What is different about your party this time around that to convince persons to be able to lend their support and to vote for the Green Party?
I believe that looking at certain polls, that both supporters of the two traditional parties and the swing voters seem to not gravitate to the traditional parties anymore, and there seem to be hemorrhaging supporters. Traditionally, it's all over the world, we don't vote parties in, we vote parties out. They voted the SLP out the last time, and the sense on the ground is that they want to vote the UWP out this time instead of voting parties in. Democracy, true democracy, is about political parties or movements presenting their ideology and the electorate voting for an ideology that most represents their ideology. And we don't see that this happening. And as a result, democracy loses. We are here as a diverse group, and actual people who are on the ground workers. Many of the people here know that the people that are surrounding us here are actual workers, not pencil pushers or sissy boys in offices. We are out there ready to work for the community. And none of us desire a ministry. We actually want to work in the community with the people to develop the people in the community.
Good day to all. Well, you ask seeking knowledge as to what we're going to do as a people, how we're going to push this government, instead of pushing the government onto the people, how does the people accept the government which is presented to them? We are, as a government, intend to create jobs, first and foremost, instead of just being there, bringing people to waterfront on a daily basis, go upstairs for elevators and sit in an office. We're looking for the private sector, give them incentives so that they themselves create jobs for the populace. If every private sector, if every group that's out there, every business could employ at least 2 to 5 persons when we come into power, that's a great percentage of employment. A simple thing that we can do as that we intend to do as the Green Party is stimulate the local economy through what we have, which is unique, which is Journée Creole example. Journée Creole, we are unique to this, and we alone have it in the whole world. Dominica have a little touch of it. We're grateful for that because Dominica, our sister nation. Instead of just having Journée Creole, which the slave master gave us for one day to celebrate your culture, we take that day and have something which is called a Saison Creole. From the time tourist industry opens in November, right until June, we have about, say, 8 months of a Creole festival, a Creole saison, a Saison Creole, where every constituency can get this Creole contribution and multiply it, do the business, make money, bring the art, bring the culture into that location, which the tourist comes into that location, money is made, everybody could do something for themselves. And in doing that, we could see generation income, we could see job creation. For example, those who make pots and clay from Choisey, that could be sold around the whole island instead of just only in one location. So we just don't want to just be seated governance where nothing happens. We just come to work with coat and tie, and the people out there are suffering. So that's one of our aims, and there's so many that we intend to do. And what else is want to touch on? Just that alone, just the little Journée Creole system, which is called Saison Creole, for 7 months, 8 months, that no matter what time the tourist comes into St. Lucia, they get the experience of that Creole festival. And we are unique to this on the whole planet. So that's a plus compared to anyone else.
Well, a question from one of the viewers on the live feed. Do you have candidates for all 17 constituencies? I said before, yeah, we do have 5 already. Well, we have 5 constituencies. We have 5 candidates ready. And the the political leader will give you more information on that.
What we have done is created a platform for people who want to serve this country to come forward. The other two political parties have no space for new people that want to get involved in politics. This is a futuristic agenda, a futuristic ideology. Post-COVID, the world is going to be totally different. We have to take a completely different tack. And what we have done is created that platform. So myself and the people who have said that we would go up for seats are ready to step aside and open up our seats for people more suited for that particular position. So we are encouraging people to come forward, people who think they could serve and manage their constituency. This is a platform for you to come on board. At the end of the session, we'll be able to give you contact numbers so that you can let us know who you are and that you can join us. So we are willing to step aside. I don't intend to be Prime Minister at all. I'm willing to step aside. I have asked 5 people that I thought would make great prime ministers. Unfortunately, because of the nastiness of politics in the country and the fact that you have to win your seat to become prime minister, these people don't want to expose themselves to that sort of behavior. But we are looking for a suitable political leader and district representatives who will suit their community in a better capacity than the ones that we have now.
And the Prime Minister haven't decided as to a date exactly for the election. How has the Green Party been on the ground in being able to rally up supporters and persons to come forward to embark on this journey towards the election?
Well, first of all, as the political leader said earlier, constitution reform is a very important thing to us. No one man should have that kind of power in his hand to decide when elections is called. Had we had a fixed date for elections, we would not be going through this political gamesmanship that we face in there right now. Because this was one of the things promised to the St. Lucian electorate by the political parties, that they would support constitutional reform. And it's 5 years now and not a move has been made in that direction. So we want there to be a fixed date for election. So this is something that the Green Party will definitely have high on our agenda. We also have a campaign strategy to go through the constituencies. And as time unfolds, you will get to know more about our strategy. But for now, our political strategy for our campaign is our own private business. Moving further, I want to express that an NGP government will ensure that there is land for the landless. And we heard not too long ago the very astute businessman and also a leader in his own right, Independent Senator Adrian Auger, spoke to this quite a bit. So we have created this progressive platform for persons like that to come on board, because some of these ideas are in sync with what they talk about all the time. All the leaders out there who represented us sometimes at the Paris climate change conferences, persons who care about the environment and so on, you know, those persons, we've created this platform for people like them to come along. And we've approached some of them, and hopefully as the time moves along, they will see the need to join the NGP. An NGP government will also ensure that St. Lucians are paid fairly. A fair day's work for a fair day's pay. What obtains in St. Lucia right now, the kind of wages and so on that our people are getting, this is just keeping our people in poverty. So we need to take a very critical look at these things. We know right now the coronavirus is a very serious situation on our doorstep, and an NGP government will ensure that St. Lucians have choices of vaccine, not only AstraZeneca being forced down our throats. There's the Cuban vaccine. We have to give our people choices. There's the choice of being treated with ivermectin. So we want to ensure that we give our people options and choices when it comes to the treatment of this whole COVID-19. We want to say also that an NGP government will ensure that we bring back local government elections. This is something that both political parties are running away from. We cannot have a situation where a party who wins office just appoints a mayor. A mayor has to run for office. The police commissioner post must be elected by the people. We cannot have this kind of appointments going on with political hacks in office. The NGP will change the whole mechanism of how these things are done. These people have to run for office. So we will bring back local government elections into St. Lucia. An NGP government will also ensure that no hotels are built on our beaches. There must be public access to our beaches. So this practice must come to a halt. So these are some of the things that the NGP will look into. And those hotels who are already constructed on our beaches and denying our people access to the beaches, we're going to put a stop to these things. An NGP government will also ensure that this restriction on our people, that they have to seek police permission for protests, this is ridiculous. Our people must have the right to protest as long as they do it peacefully. This notion of having to apply to the police, you simply inform the police that you're going to have a protest and the police provides security. But the people must have the right to protest. If not, you're just stifling the people's expression. So an NGP government will remove that restriction right away, because this is what we're suffering from even today, that our people cannot even protest for being they're in fear of being arrested by the police. So we need to change the dynamics of those things. So, brothers and sisters, this is a new day. We want to ensure that our people know what we stand for as a political party, and I'm sure some of those things will resonate with our people, even now that we are facing all these situations where people cannot voice their opinions and cannot protest. An NGP government will ensure that we reinstate the distress fund. And we're looking at putting at least $2 million aside into the distress fund. This whole thing about people having to do surgery, and as soon as you come out of a supermarket, there's a sponsorship sheet being shoved in your face. My mother needs a surgery, barbecue dance for fundraising for medical. These things have to be a thing of the past. Our people deserve better. We deserve better, brothers and sisters. An NGP government will ensure that we increase the distress fund, increase the subvention to the National Trust. The National Trust is doing a remarkable job, and we have to commend them and we have to support them. So no more of this barbecue thing and sponsorship sheets in the supermarkets. And no, our people deserve better than that, brothers and sisters. So an NGP government will look into those things. When it comes to the environment, every time you have a heavy shower, so many plastic bottles clogging up our waterways. It is high time those companies who produce those things buy back those bottles. We must put a value on those plastic bottles. So those companies have to buy back those bottles. And if we do that, people will be inclined to pass around and pick them up. So when you have a heavy shower downpour, you will not see those bottles clogging up our drains. So these are some of the things when it comes to our environment, the NGP will be looking into. So we have created this very progressive platform, and we are reaching out to our people, persons who are willing to serve their country, people where those messages will resonate with them. We're inviting them to come on board with the NGP, because we're giving St. Lucia real change, not no Mickey Mouse freedom or Mickey Mouse independence. Real change we offer in St. Lucians through the NGP. Thank you for your kind attention.
We'll have one more question from our viewers, and then we'll move on to another one of our executives. Question from the viewers. Pancho, you spoke about what the Green Party would like to do. However, you didn't give any idea as to how you plan to achieve these agendas.
Well, the Green Party has always been pigeonholed as a cannabis party. Excuse me. This government, the UWP government, hired Malaysian consultants to direct them as to how to start a cannabis industry. And the Ministry of Commerce also did a report with their economists, and both reports suggest that the government could make $50 to $80 million a year in taxes and license fees if the cannabis industry is constructed in the way that we designed it. So many of these projects, for instance, the $1 million a year for the National Trust, we could get it out of that $50 to $80 million. The single mothers, subvention for single mothers, the universal daycare centers for working parents. Many of our projects would be funded with the money, the profits, and the money derived from the cannabis industry. But not only that, with the increase in cannabis production, there will also be increases in agricultural production. And therefore, we're looking at increasing shelf life and value added. So we hope to open production plants where we would take any fruit and process it and bottle it or can it. This adds value and it adds shelf life for export. There's also the creation of cottage industries. So we'd also encourage people to be innovative, young entrepreneurs. There's the idea that we want to have create a fashion industry. We wouldn't be able to make the fabric out of hemp, but we could import hemp fabric. Many years ago, Bell Fashions in Denver was hiring over 200 people. Our people are skilled. We have amazing seamstresses and artisans, and we can develop a fashion industry where we can clothe ourselves and also export our clothing. The recommissioning of the coconut factory, that was an idea that we presented to the SLP government 23 years ago, where we would use our local raw materials and diversify from cooking oil to body care industry, making soaps, shampoos, body oils, conditioners, creams out of our local raw materials, adding value, putting them in all our hotels and exporting them regionally and internationally. So many of the plans will generate income that would sustain these sort of industries. So there's money there to be made in the agriculture industry. And that money would be just reinvested in the economy. So that is how we plan to use the money, and that's how we plan to develop many of our projects in our agenda.
We present our treasurer, Mr. Avalan Joseph.
Ok, bonjour tout le monde, bonjour Joseph d'ici, bon, la terre tout partout, nous avons dit bonjour, et bienvenue à Kanawi côté nous avons live broadcast là of launching NGP National Green Party. Bon, moi vle dire bye, and I will start, so by speaking in Creole, in Patois, just to get the message across. Bon, tout ça ou hatten la hodia about NGP, c'est vle di NGP c'est un mouvement plus passé c'est un parti. NGP du bout pour un manière pour vivre la vie. C'est pas juste un manière pour venir vote pour descendre good, un manière pour just venir et voyo là voyo pas là leur besoin, c'est pas ça. NGP a try tout ça et ça, tout pouvoir pour indiquer moun, même nous ka indiquer nous, because on pour vle indiquer pour ça indiquer, éducation ka commencer et pour ka indiquer corps. Bon, tout bagay le Google, ou ça toujours Google NGP ideology, green ideology, ou que ouais, c'est pas juste un bagay nous just wait yon de nom Saint-Lucie, Kanawi just vini, et puis un idea, et nous ka try mettre laisser moun, c'est pas comme ça. Ça c'est un manière comme que changement ouvre ouais un sakalia, c'est où qui ça fait. premier pas c'est où qui ni pour point représentation from community ou pas que ça fait ba ou because a shy les nous ha we les nous vote by ces noms ça garder pour yo pas là c'est nous qui connaît yon a l'autre fin nous qui connaît les bacs qui yon a l'autre c'est nous tout qui là et yon a l'autre qui connaît ça bon nous c'est keeper fouet nous we are our brothers keeper bon moi sorti Canawi papa moi sorti community millet et puis whole la vie moi c'est constituency ça moi Canavi whole la vie moi c'est cette liste moi vivre oui moi fait un petit sorti mais majorité la vie moi c'est cette liste c'est Canawi c'est within island là même so un monde pas ni pour venir dire moi ça Jean Canawi ça Jean moi ça moins bousin un monde qui a sorti n'importe côté là tu pas ça fait ça un monde qui a sorti n'importe côté pas ça venir un Jean Roseau un Jean Jack Mel un Jean Tête Chimé ça est bousin c'est où qui ni pour faire ça c'est où qui savent so ça nous kamando avec NGP ça nous ka faire c'est faire ça où faire la vous faire manière ka vivre pour une responsabilité of call encore un monde pas qui fait ba ou bon moi ha vote 4 fois la vie moi pour l'âgement moi ha vote des Léba des Flambeau Alliance letter mon désité Alliance et puis Flambeau l'autre là avec moi ha vote des fois Léba avec en toute expérience moi en ça fait voter ça even pas pour gourmet pour ça au de bout pour à the end of the day ou ka pas manifester ou ka toute idea toute énergie toute zèle là ni pour ces idées là pour mener devant yo pas vle tendre ça so si ou pas qu'il fait bon moi et ça ka fait mon comprendre que tout jeune monde supposé comprendre si ou pas ça fait by call yo pas qu'il fait ba et c'est pour raison ça moi-même qu'a pour responsabilité à l'école moi-même pour faire et mener un changement moi vle ouais by commune moi changement moi vle ouais by constituency moi changement moi vle ouais by la famille moi by riche moi c'est moi qui ni pour faire et nous ca encourager tout le monde pour catiller qualité manière ça pas catiller about ou les bas tellement et bon flambeau tellement et après élection c'est bon on va venir pleurer non mais n'a que c'est les bas vote bas n'a que c'est flambeau vote bas n'a que ou vote bas pour te faire la vie plus meilleure bas c'est pas pour ça moun ka vote pour changement moun ka vote pour différence ou pas ka vote à cause de style et ben fashion c'est pas pour ça Malcolm X te parlé c'est pas pour ça Martin Luther King c'est pas pour ça even ou qui dit Barack Obama mais whoever qui mention qui goumé pour une cause because même bâton qui bat chien noir qui bat chien blanc the same bad you could get out of it there is good in it même c'est pas un moun point mi sa vie we cancer comment ba you can investigate dedans venom là so there is good in everything the same way there is bad in everything some of us tend to stick on the bad some of us tend to focus on the positive and that is what we promote c'est ça nous voulons catcher là de manière comme que écoutez peut-être ça moi qui fait la hordia peut-être moi pas qui bénéficie from lui mais vous savez que ça riche moins ti riche moins si nous pas catcher les courants it's like spinning top in mud nous pièce pas pièce côté et nous toutes c'est yon à l'autre nous ka un zi pas pour tuer yon à l'autre qui manière nous ça mettait un finissement en bout pour ça calé là et de les ka croiser chez moi because moi ka ouais c'est commune ça un chay bay ça fait la ben tête tout partout vous comprenez ça moi là tout partout véo tourner c'était nous ka fait famine là qui because combien bay nous ka payer pour importer maintenant dedans nous ça couper toute l'argent ça ouais ici bon ça appli là nous ni pour faire ça nous voulait faire là ni combien gens Canawi en Slawe tout ce côté ça qui l'autre côté Gozo qui l'Angleterre et c'est moun ça ka take care comme yo volant by la famille yo ka care remittances Canaries has one of the highest rates of remittances like si pas te pour bail courant they like Canaries take really live up to standard like you can live up as if the poor community if you walk through Canaries right now you don't see that's a poor community you see some happy people down there you see what I'm saying so let us put things in place to incite and to create that interest with our experts, governments. Let us work together to create incentives for these people who want to come back and build their homes. Let us give them the lands at a price. Of course, government has a part to play. The waterfront, beautiful. Come on, cafe, Gaza, side ban Kanawi, Slawe, Millet, Jack Melozo, Sufuye, west side la, say best side la. Mais yet still is one of the deadest side. So Sakalia, attention, nous bousez qui pas cabanouin. Des pour nous demander pour bail fait côté ko ban Kanawi, ben ça ko nous pas bouger ça, c'est gozile. Ma bien about gozile, ma bien about pièce lot commune. Yo toujours do charity begins at home, mon ka gome pour commune moi. Ek mwen ka gome pour constituency moi, ek mwen ka gome pour country moi, c'est quoi ka monter. First of all, ou commencer à caillou, ou commencer à commune, ou commencer à control, ek ou ka monter ko. So c'est puis ça moi même give up by les basek by flambeau ça. Papis ma aimé à de bay yo ka fait, papis moi haï yo e bay ko. Puis mon ka wè ça qui really important. Yo pa ka kachila about, yo pa ka parler about li. Ako di se gen moun vle gen tout seul like pour just like no kasa. We need these people coming to the constituencies and the communities now, like they come all before election, come and campaign. You see them every time. So why when they win, we don't see them? Let somebody else run the ministries. The people voted for you because they saw and they had faith in you, and all of a sudden you've disappeared. Ça c'est kalte bagay la NGP gouvernement et puis un pouvoir qui changé. Nous là avec ces moun là. Nous ha vive la vie, nous savons manière y pour lever et pas déchler pour grand pain. Et où is hot I me donner ba ça, mais de là on est pour faire. Nous connaît ces bagages ça. Nous connaît les light bill ni pour payer de $50 et pas ça même payer. Nous connaît ces bagages ça, nous ha les fruits. So we are of the people, we are from the people. We live the life of the people. You understand? So exam of dit na ki yon le tout jeune moun qui pas aimé vote. Ça qui le bail puis bail le bail avec flambeau puis wetan bail zot. C'est pas qu'on nous pas un temps pour hot, nous pas qui travail pour zot, mais wetan bail zot because tête zot jawed or pas open pour open conversation and talk say if it's not red it's not good, if it's not yellow it's not good. We are not on that kind of ideology. Vous comprenez? C'est même NGP ça qui là et qui ça qui vini ou ni pour ka abide by certain ideologies et philosophy parti ça mouvement ça et qu'on passe à venir fake ou passe en hypocrite because ike mouche by your works you shall be known. Bon mokadou mokaki elle tout jeune moun qui pas aimer take vote qui pas te vle vote because when you look at the election voting statistics, a lot of people don't vote, a lot of people don't come out to vote. People have lost hope in this traditional kind of politician because it's the same story over and over and nothing. Young people especially come out to vote. If it's going to be your first vote, vote for a reason, vote for a purpose. You haki na shy mama nu duvanu, shy power duvanu. Let us change the change we want to see. Let us be the change we want to see. Let us do the things we want to see. Ipake just sorti from ciel ek tobe a depi mwen. Ek with that, mou vle di merci tout moun ki ka veye. Won la te a set lisi et puis nou ka bon souhaiter tout moun a bonne journée ek nou apresse san chay.
Any more questions? All right, so before we go on to the closing statements, I would just like to give you the information, the contact information for those of you listening to us on Liberty FM 92.3. For those of you watching us live on Facebook, Instagram, and of course, YouTube, thank you so much. And of course, our media houses, thank you so much for being here with us to help us share this information with our fellow countrymen. So we are definitely, we would like you to learn more about us, lend your support, volunteer, make a donation, help us make an impact. But also, if interested persons can contact Mr. Andrew De Caries, our political leader, at 1758-725-9691. That is 725 9691 or Mr. Aaron Alexander at 1758-486-8429. That is 486-8429, or myself, the PRO, Ika Fergus, at 520-2872. That is 520-2872. The website, visit the website ngp.lc. That is N National G Green P Party.lc. And on Facebook, Instagram, we have NGP STLUCIA and at NGP STLUCIA. And now for the closing statement.
Comment with respect to the whole program and what I see with respect to the political landscape in St. Lucia. I think it is important. It is very important that we take a very good look at the political landscape and see what is going on. Try to understand it and then design a response appropriate to address the situation that we are facing. I think that there's a great void in St. Louis, very great void with respect to the political debate in this country. If you ask me, I will tell you that St. Lucia needs more of a serious consciousness building movement than a political party. It really, and this is so serious, it is very serious that we develop that kind of consciousness building movement that will address the way we relate to each other. That's one. Violence in the community. Why? Why is so much violence in the community? You know, the political balkanization taking place. We see it. And it is as a result of the different parties that you have. That is happening. The economic situation in this country, where you have the people have been marginalized, you know, and then the different sectors of that generate revenue for the economy are being appropriated, and the people have been marginalized. You see it in the banana industry, you see it in the tourism industry, you see it in the social sector, you know, the importation sector, the commercial sector. These things, I mean, it's a very serious problem. And I have not seen the political parties coming forward to address the situation in a very serious way. It has not been done, and it's not been done. You know, I personally am not for party. I am for movement that's going to change the political landscape. That's going to focus on we are a black country, frankly. I have to tell you, I am pro-Africanist. I'm an African, pro-African. That's what I am, you know. And I want to see a solid program that will incorporate African values, African ethics, African history. We don't have that in our school. I have not heard anything. We need to do these things if we want to move forward. And I am telling you, at this point, I'm not sure if any political party wins office, whether they're going to be able to address the issues before we put the issues to the people. Don't see that as a short-term thing. You might never see the end of it. I know probably I'm the first who will not say because I'm at the age where, but we need these things to protect the younger people, the generation coming forward. We need it. We need to have a solid, approach in terms of how we educate our people. And that's what we don't have today. We don't have it today. So I encourage you to revisit your program. Look at the wealth creation and generation. Revisit it. See where you're going to with it in terms of what are the sectors that you look for. The agriculture sector is in dire strait, and I hear a lot of arguments and promises with debates with respect to food security. It's a total lie. We don't believe it. We are not doing it. Because I'm involved in the cooperative movement, and this is a sector that can create lots of employment. It can build confidence, among farmers, among everyone who is involved in cooperative. Let you do for self. It's about that, and the kind of resistance that you face, resistance to prevent, organization, and this is something that's happening in the country. We are trying to diminish the capacity of organizations in this country, and we are actually destroying it. Where's the trade union? Where are they? Where are the community societies, foundations, and so on? Where are they? And you see a systematic, destruction of these organizations. And hence the reason that we find us so divided in the community. We turn on each other and shoot each other. Young people shooting each other. That should be an outrage in a small country like ours. But we are not doing it. So I truly encourage to take the debate to the level of the people, take it at every level in this country. And those who don't, people can reject you if they want, but then be doctor and move forward without stop. That's what
Thank you very much, my brother. And you are on the ball with that, because we have those things under consideration when it comes to our education system, to reform the education system to reflect more of African history, give our people a greater sense of pride, give our people a greater sense of self-esteem, because a lot of times, even with the violence, people just trying to show how bad they are, and they have not been exposed to the teachings of our great leaders who went before us. And this is something that is lacking. That is why we always say that the education system has failed us and continue to fail our children, even up to this point. So you're very correct with your comments, my brother. Thank you very much for that. And just know that this is part of the program for the NGP. Education reform is something that is high on our agenda as well.
And so you did say something about consciousness. To effect real change, there must be a collective consciousness. Just like the analogy with the plastic water bottles, everybody is conscious that this is affecting the environment. To actually put a law in place to do that really doesn't hit the mark. It's the collective consciousness that we're trying to achieve. And only through educating people about green living, green lifestyles, taking your money and giving it to St. Lucian before you give it to some foreign man for processed food that ends up giving you a non-communicable disease, and the container ends up in Dayglow in our solid waste dump. We need to change the way that we purchase. Chains are not around our necks or around our feet anymore. They're in our pockets. That is where they have us. And it's as well. But then they get to your pocket because they have infected your mind.
But what I'm talking about consciousness building is, I feel every organization, particularly political organization, should have a framework to that. Don't leave it to people to say, okay, you educate yourself. You will not do it. That has to be done within a framework that involves the school system, the education system. And there are certain things, police people who put themselves, candidates who put themselves forward to lead the country, should know certain things about government. They should understand. I mean, if you're a black country and you're dealing with black people, you should have basic knowledge of Africa. Period. Or you shouldn't be there, governing anybody. I mean, let's face it. Okay. You have a current prime minister who said that colonialism had a conscience. I mean, this is a height of, ignorance, I have to say. Okay? He knows anything about the Mau Mau? Does he anything about what is happening in the US currently and what has happened in the past? Does he know anything about emancipation and what came in after emancipation? Does he know anything about that? Come on. You know what I mean? So what kind of representation that you can give, to a populace? Mm-hmm. When you have this kind of ignorance, not anything else but ignorance. So you educate yourself about it, and you present yourself as a leader, as a serious leader. Otherwise, you're not serious, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
I have one question. The outgoing chairman of the NFTO, Mr. Eustace Monroe, recently mentioned by agricultural
Diversification.
Yes, thank you. Stating that bananas shouldn't be the only crop that St. Lucia should export to various countries. Do you think that St. Lucia has the capacity to produce all the crops other than the banana sector right now that is truly reliable and viable for the sustainable agricultural sector and the people of St. Lucia?
Well, the government has targeted 7 crops, and those crops could all be grown here. Basically, what is preventing farmers from constant supply is the infrastructure. The way people irrigate crops. We want to eliminate overhead irrigation and introduce strictly drip irrigation. This is a climate change mitigation idea, because what we've seen is longer periods of drought, followed by torrential rainfall. So we need to support the farmer and give him the capacity to produce. If we just producing food the way that we're producing it now, taking a fork, digging the land, and throwing a seed in the ground, we will never attain that level of production. And that is why we say agriculture first, and we come in with crop insurance, a central purchasing agency, national drainage program, national irrigation program, promising to cover 100 acres under plastic. Only when we have that infrastructure in place will we be able to produce, not only feed ourselves, lower the food import bill, but also feed the rest of the islands around us who are not producing. So agriculture first, we have many ideas dealing with agriculture and how to get the productivity and the economic benefits of a integrated, diversified, organic agricultural system. Monocropping bananas over the years has destroyed our soils, silted up our rivers, polluted our lands with agrochemicals, and that model must never be revisited. And we intend to never revisit that model. Not to say that we must never grow bananas, but we must grow it in a completely different method.
I just wanted to address you saying something you said. I agreed with 100%, but I also think in regards to having people educate themselves is one of the biggest campaigns that we should be running. And I think if we make it something interesting and something vibrant, because the word is what was hidden from the wise and prudent shall be revealed to babes and sucklings. You know, so everything is at everybody's fingertip. Nothing is hidden no more. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to get all generations, you know, energized, and they would want to learn more because they do it with all these celebrities and what they're not even supposed to know about. You understand what I'm saying? So if we could inject that kind of self-visual, self-portrait of us being not just slaves, but kings and queens with brilliant minds that needs nurturing and needs to be fed, you know, I think that's the biggest sector that we could ever produce on this island. So I agree for what you say, but I also believe that this educating thing, just like they do their campaigns during election, there should be that kind of campaigning when it comes to educating our people. Thank you very much, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the National Green Party, I would like to thank the media, Liberty FM, for carrying this event live, Choice TV for being here today, Mr. Avalon Joseph for use of his beautiful grounds as our headquarters, the viewers of Liberty FM via Liberty FM, radio, both via the radio station and on Facebook, our viewers on our social media pages, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, our Mistress of Ceremonies, Miss Ika Fergus, and of course, the executive of the National Green Party for being here today, for making the time to be here today. And of course, you, our beautiful, specially invited guests, we thank you for attending and for your discourse. The National Green Party participation is not just limited to encouraging the populace to go into a booth for 5 minutes to cast a vote. We want to rewrite our stories, the narrative of the people of St. Lucia, together for real and holistic change, both, in the political landscape, in our lifestyle, and by extension, in our society. The NGP is concerned with changing the mindset of the people when it comes to politics in St. Lucia, okay, and the way we live our life. So I'm asking for your vote, St. Lucia. We ask you for your vote. We know that we are in the embryonic stage, and perhaps we may not win this general election. Even with the number of seats that we have, we may not win. This is a movement. We are asking you to support us, to give us a chance. Get good government. Go green, St. Lucia, and let us do better together as a people. Thank you.
And with those words, we say goodbye to everyone. Thank you very much. Round of applause and enjoy the music. We have a special playlist for you all. So please enjoy those specially selected tunes that we have for you all from the NGP, National Green Party, all the way. Thank you.
We refuse to be what you wanted us to be. We are what we are. That's the way it's going to be. If you don't know, you can't educate us for no equal opportunity. Talking about my freedom, people freedom and liberty. Yeah, we've been starting on the wine press much too long. Rebel Radical the wine press much too long. Rebel, Babylon system is the vampire.
Two, 1, 2, check 2. Remember, folks, we have some eats and drinks well prepared there for you all, so let's go and enjoy ourselves.
Day by day. Yeah. It's the Babylon system is the vampire. Falling empire.